I don't know if I'm going to include this in the larger video, but I just want to do a reading of it because it's my favourite Tumblr post and it doesn't have as many notes as I think it should. Sometimes I like to think of the Dream SMP and its greater canon as a living fantasy universe, not just a little Minecraft server under Minecraft server assumptions. I like to think the world has complex technology in the form of planes, Nokia phones, and little communication devices. But also it's still a fantasy place, with animal hybrid inhabitants, potion brewing, and enchanted weapons. I like to think that one day this piglin hybrid and his friend staked a claim on the entire world and immediately everybody panicked, though not a drop of blood had been shed. The next day there was a highly anticipated trial, with the stake of the world on the line. I like to think that the Angel of Death and the Blade rose to notoriety from this incident, becoming names known far and wide for their battle prowess, and sometimes this brown-haired teenager with a little tag-along blonde-kid brother, who seems to live the most mundane life imaginable, would sometimes stop in the middle of playing some depressing song in his guitar and casually drop, "Oh yeah, the Angel of Death? I know him. He's my dad." And then people would stare as he went on nonchalantly playing his depressing music. I like to think that one day this same fellow with curly brown hair, now a young adult, called a bunch of people into a drug van and started preaching all sorts of abstract ideas of liberty and equality and freedom from tyranny. And a bunch of people who came to buy potions from that little drug business sat down and thought, that sounds kinda cool actually, and deserted Dream's absolutist rule. I like to think that there was a massive audience when Wilbur was announcing the results of the presidential election. There were thousands of votes for that election, remember? That even the people who weren't in the audience were also hearing it over their communication devices and blasted around L'Manberg, listening with bated breath. And when Jschlatt took the stage and his first decree was to exile Wilbur and Tommy, chaos immediately descended in the streets. There were violent riots that night. Someone cried out that the former president had been slain by one of Dream's soldiers, Puns, and had lost one of his lives, and panic ensued. Next day, the newspapers wrote all sorts of conspiracies of how Jschlatt took power. Some of the citizens of L'Manberg saw this girl, Nikki, who was new in town, and urging them to fight. Soon they learned that she was an old friend of Wilbur's, and she became a figurehead of the internal resistance. I like to think that Purple's real estate business terrorized shop owners throughout the greater Dream SMP. Purple became way too rich from his exploitative practices, and everyone was too scared to do anything about it because it was rumoured that Purple was scarily good in the fight. I like to think that people started calling their dogs cats and foxes into their houses once rumour began to spread of this merciless pet killer with a flame on their shirt. I like to think that Poptopia was a layered place, where resistance fighters were building a lively small community together. The Blade wasn't really as intimidating as everyone thought. Hell, he was a potato farm aficionado who loved to ramble about that one time he spent months farming potatoes in order to beat this kid. It was a bustling ravine, where constant sounds of laughter, tears, and the chinking away of pickaxes could be heard as everyone tried to relax, mine resources, and prepare for revolution. I like to think that everyone tuned in to the Quackity Jschlatt drama. It was all over the tabloids. Vice President Quackity kills his president and lover. Read all about it! Everyone made derisive political cartoons about Jschlatt, and then people started to make derisive political cartoons about Tubbo. I like to think there were pirates on the great seas. One day, one such pirate captain by the name of Puffy landed on the shores by L'Manberg and the Greater Dream SMP, intending to just do a little casual robbing. But she decided to take a tour around the place with the king, and in the process, she met that figurehead of the resistance and couldn't help feeling a little smitten. Her pirate crew eventually sailed off without her. I like to think that after Wilbur died, everyone knew about Ghostbur. His music stand was always popular. Sometimes he lended out books from his library, and people took them and read them, even though they were damp and starting to get just a little bit mouldy. No one wanted to hurt the ghost's feelings. I like to think there was a shocked audience at Tommy's exile. I like to think the day before Doomsday, the citizens of L'Manberg were busy scrambling to evacuate their valuables, to muster their arms. I like to think that some of them, who never thought Tubbo was that bad anyways, followed Tommy and Tubbo to Snowchester. I like to think that people actually enjoyed the games at both of the festivals, and that there were many more of them. I just like to think of the Dream SMP as being an inhabited place. Sometimes.